Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. And as you can see here, I've got all these parts lined up. These are the parts we're going to be fitting today to the Porsche engine to continue to rebuild. These are all new parts. Now, most of them is common sense to replace. The other ones, it's down to you if you want to replace them. I've chosen to replace them purely because you're there, and if it was to fail, you've got to tear the engine back down, a lot of it, just to get to these parts. So I thought, better be this safe than sorry, and replace them now so I don't ever have to access back that area. The first one is the oil level sensor. Many people seem to believe these don't ever go wrong. These ain't cheap, these are like £120. I chose to go and buy a new one purely because it's underneath everything else, all the junction box, all the electronics on top of the engine, and to get to it is an absolute pitter. So I thought, let me replace it now, because if it fails, I have to be back down there, and it's a long stick, as you can see. I've got the old one here. You can see the length of it. Imagine trying to pull that out with all the stuff. It just won't come out, especially under the hood of the car as well. So it was a bit more common sense to replace that while I was at it. Next thing I've got is a temperature sensor for the coolant, which goes into the front console. I'm going to be replacing that as well. That's a brand new one, purely because it just makes sense to do it. Next one, obviously, is all the gaskets that you need to replace, along with all the front console ones. These come in a pack with all your gasket set, all your new metal gaskets for the water pump, for the front console, for everything on the front console as well. You get two big ones. Very, very common sense where they go. They can't go anywhere else. They go behind the front console, so make sure you put them behind before you bolt on the front console. There are all the gaskets for the water pump and the thermostat. Inside here, we've got a brand new Mal water pump, as you can see there. Again, this was not cheap because it also come with the new bolts, because I didn't want to reuse the old ones. You can see here, this is a brand new water pump to go on. Like I said, I think these run about £180 for the new water pump. Here, we've got a lower temp thermostat. You can see here, this is the lower temp one. This is brand new, and this should help prevent bore score in the near future. These are very, very well known, and everyone upgrades to these when doing a rebuild, purely because bore score is such a common issue. A lot of people seem to think it's because of the temperatures that these cars run at, which actually causes them to actually suffer with bore score in the first place. They didn't give new bolts for that, so we got the old bolts in there, so I kept them all together so I know what bolts are what. Here we've got a brand new starter motor, which is in the box as well, which we're going to be bolting on because it makes sense to do it now. We can do it now instead of waiting. You can see in there, that's the brand new starter motor. This is a Bosch one. Very, very clean and shiny compared to my old one. You guys will end up seeing it during the rebuild, how old and tacky the other one was. Now, I think this one, the old one, did have a problem, and that's why I replaced it in the first place. Along with the battery cable, I've also got that, which is going to be going on as well. And many of you guys are going to jump and say, replace the battery cable one there. I've already got a new one along to go with the starter motor. Together, the starter motor and the battery cable, I believe, were around £280 for both of them. So it isn't bad for what you get. And obviously, this car did have a starting problem in the beginning. These are the parts we're going to be replacing from now. I don't know, as we go along, there may be other parts. We'll get to that as we move on from it. So let's take you to the front of the engine, and then you can see what we're going to be bolting on to where. So you can see firstly here on the front console, the temp sensor is going to go right in there, which is what we're going to put in right now. So this literally just goes in here and screws in, just like so. You can see here, and we will tighten it down with a spanner. So you can see there, I'm just going to tighten it down. So it's fully seated, which it is now. Obviously, you don't want to angle it. So that's as tight as it will go, and that's fully tight. Now what I'm going to do is spin the engine over so we can get access to the water pump and everything else. Now you can probably see here, the crankshaft pulley is already on. I did put that on. Like I said, trying to torque that bolt, you have to be Hulk to be able to torque that. That is literally near impossible to be able to do the degree they want you to do on that, which is a 90-degree turn. After torquing it to 52 foot-pounds, it's literally near impossible. Now what I've done is I just impact it on my big impact gun. And when I've done these previously on the BMs, Fiats, Fords, I've never had a problem impacting these on. They really don't need to be torqued to that degree at all. I don't even know why they're on that tight. It makes it near impossible to ever get it off if you have to again. which at some point it's probably going to have to come off either to change the seal or even do servicing. That will have to come off. So the next one we're going to replace is going to be the water pump. And if you can see just here, this has a alignment down, which is right there. And that's to align it to the actual casing itself. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is just find the alignment point, which is not very hard. Just got to figure out what way it goes to be able to do it. So I can see already, you can see by the circle bit right here, this goes down that way. So you get the drift of how it goes, which is right there, just like that. And then we're going to put our bolts in as well. And you need to make sure this is properly in, otherwise you will end up with a leak. Might have to just use our rubber mallet just to tap it on. And these bolts are torqued to 10 Newton meters, just in case any of you guys want to know the torque back on these. Now we're going to get our torque wrench and torque them up. So now it's all set to 10 Newton meters. We're going to go ahead and torque these up. So let's just tighten them up a bit more. Now that's done, now we're going to move on to doing the thermostat. Okay guys, so as you can see, that's the thermostat where it lives. We're going to be putting the thermostat in, which just goes like this. But I've got to get the gasket, which is right here, and obviously you just match it up to where it needs to go. So it'll go like that. We'll just put that on just like that. And these all have metal gaskets, as I said to you in the pack. You can't really mix them up, they only go one way. And most of them are all for the front, so it's very, very easy. Then we're going to put the thermostat on. What we'll do is just hold that in there with a screw, so we can get the screw in. And these are torqued to 10 as well. Newton meters as well. There's only 4 of these. These are metric ones, so you can't use a normal socket for them. And we'll torque these up as well. These are an 8mm. So what we'll do is just run them down by hand. So we'll just torque these down to 10 Newton meters. And that is now all done as well. That's the thermostat on. So there you have it guys. There's all the bits now mounted onto the engine, and you can see now it's becoming an engine again. There's a lot of other bits that still need to go on, but a lot of them cannot go on yet until the heads go on, purely because a lot of it mounts to the heads, to the sides of the heads and everything else. So we will have to do that before mounting everything else, but you can see now it's actually coming back together. It really isn't hard to rebuild these engines at all. Like I said, every bolt is small. Every bolt is very easy to just torque up. You don't have to worry too much about the torque on certain things. Obviously, when you put the things on back on top of the case, you don't have to worry so much about torquing this or torquing that, you know, all these small things like the starter motor, things like that, you know, ain't gonna come out. But obviously anything to do with the engine components, obviously the heads, head bolts, of course you have to torque and everything inside the engine. But all this is very, very easy to actually put on. Like I said to you, the crank pulley, I just impact it on, and I think that turned it way more than it should have anyway. But it's holding and it's turning fine. But you cannot turn that at a 90-degree angle after 50 foot-pounds at all. It's just literally impossible. You end up spinning the engine over. You just can't get the grip on it that you need. You'd have to stand on it to do that. But above all, guys, the engine's coming back together. I'm very, very happy. Next video you're gonna see is probably putting the heads on so we can bolt the rest of the ancillaries, because I can't do that until the heads are on and obviously everything's torqued down with the head bolts and everything else, so I can start fitting all the PCV system, which I'm looking forward to as well, because I've got all new PCV system to go on. But as you can see, I'm fitting a lot of new parts to this car, and I'm very happy with the way it's coming out. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope you're enjoying this Porsche engine rebuild series. Like I said, I am keeping you updated. I know I'm not doing a lot, like, you know, going into full detail, but I am trying my best to try and get everything on video. Also, because obviously, as many of you guys know, this car's going. I've had the guy here helping me, as many of you guys would have seen, help me put the case on, help me put the crankshaft carrier in. So he's been helping me a lot. But all these kind of bits I can do on my own. So the timing, the heads, all that kind of stuff I can do on my own. But putting the engine back in the car, he's gonna have to come again and help with that. But I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. And like I say, we've got a lot more to go, but this engine shouldn't be too long away now from being ready to go back in the car. Probably not another 2 days of work, the heads, timing, and then all the ancillaries, and the engine's good to go, ready to go back in the car. And I'm looking forward to it, guys, and I hope you guys are excited for the first startup. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching, guys. BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.